Miami taxes are silently draining your wallet every single time you visit. You think you're paying for paradise, but what you don't see is the elaborate system designed to extract maximum revenue while keeping you blind to the real cost. That picture-perfect beach vacation? It's actually a masterclass in hidden economics, a brilliant scheme where visitors fuel an entire city's prosperity without ever realizing just how much they're truly paying. And the most disturbing part? This isn't happening by accident. But wait until you discover what's really going on behind those palm trees and neon lights. Once upon a time, Miami was just another beachfront city struggling to find its identity. Now it's a global destination that extracts billions from visitors through an intricate web of fees, surcharges, and invisible taxes that most never even notice. This transformation didn't happen overnight, and it certainly didn't happen without a plan. Think about your last Miami vacation. Remember that hotel bill that somehow ended up hundreds of dollars more than the price you booked? That restaurant check where the final amount made you do a double take? Those weren't mistakes. They were the silent machinery of paradise at work. A machinery that ensures everyone pays far more than they budgeted, filling city coffers while keeping the tax burden surprisingly low for those who actually live there. We've all experienced this moment, standing at the hotel checkout, staring in disbelief at a bill that's somehow 40% higher than expected. In Miami, this isn't the exception, it's the rule. And behind this system lies one of the most fascinating economic experiments in modern America. The story begins in the early 1990s, when Miami faced a critical crossroads. The city was growing, but its infrastructure was crumbling. Traditional tax increases on residents would have been political suicide. The solution? Create a parallel tax system that would barely touch locals but extract maximum revenue from visitors who had no voting power to object. It was brilliantly simple, wildly effective, and virtually invisible to those paying it. Look closely at your next Miami hotel bill. That 14% tax rate is just the beginning. Then comes the resort fee. Not technically a tax, but a mandatory charge that hotels claim covers amenities like beach chairs and Wi-Fi. In reality, it's an ingenious way to advertise lower room rates while still collecting the full amount they want. One hotel executive I spoke with, who requested anonymity, put it bluntly: "Resort fees let us show up better in search results while still getting the money we need. Everyone does it because the first hotel to stop would be at a competitive disadvantage." These fees now average $42 per night in Miami, higher than almost anywhere else in America. On a 7-day vacation, that's nearly $300 you never budgeted for. And unlike the actual room rate, hotels don't pay commission to travel booking sites on resort fees, creating a powerful incentive to shift more of the real cost into this category. But the revenue extraction doesn't stop at your hotel door. Miami Beach charges a 2% tax on every meal in restaurants. That seafood dinner with drinks for two that cost $200? Add another $4 just for the privilege of eating in paradise. It doesn't sound like much until you multiply it by millions of visitors eating multiple meals every day. What's fascinating is how different this experience is for locals versus visitors. When Miami residents drive to work each morning, they're cruising on roads and infrastructure largely paid for by people who visited for just a few days. They enjoy city services and amenities funded by dollars that flowed in from out-of-town pockets. It's a brilliant system if you live there, and completely invisible if you're just visiting. One Miami Beach city official explained the strategy to me this way: "Our residents get first-world services with third-world tax rates because visitors subsidize almost everything. It's the perfect solution. The people paying the most get no say in how the money is spent." Consider the mathematics at work. A typical family of 4 visiting Miami for a week might spend $4,000 on their vacation. Of that, roughly $700 goes directly to various taxes, fees, and surcharges, more than 17% of their entire vacation budget. Multiply that by the 34 million visitors who came to Miami last year, and you begin to understand the scale of this invisible economy. But what makes Miami's system truly remarkable isn't just the amount collected, it's how seamlessly it's integrated into the visitor experience. The psychology is brilliant. When you're relaxing on South Beach with a $12 cocktail in hand, plus tax, plus automatic gratuity, you're not thinking about public finance systems. You're thinking about the sunshine, the beautiful people, and how to capture the perfect Instagram moment. We know this economic sleight of hand works because of what happens when other cities try to copy it. Las Vegas implemented similar resort fees, and while visitors grumbled, they kept coming in record numbers. The lesson was clear. Tourists will absorb significant cost increases as long as they're fragmented and presented as separate from the core experience. Not everyone in the Miami tourism industry supports this approach, however. Carlos Diaz owns a small hotel in Miami Beach that notably doesn't charge resort fees. "I believe in transparent pricing," he told me, "but I'm fighting a losing battle. Every year, I lose customers to hotels that advertise lower base rates, but then add $40 or $50 in fees. By the time the guest realizes the true cost, they've already committed." The most fascinating aspect of Miami's invisible tax system is that it's constantly evolving. When resort fees began generating negative publicity, some hotels introduced new charges with more appealing names: destination fees, urban fees, or amenity packages. The economics remained the same, but the packaging became more palatable. This isn't just happening at luxury properties. Budget hotels throughout Miami have adopted the same practices. The Days Inn and Super 8 both charge resort fees, despite being bargain accommodations. When even economy lodging embraces hidden charges, you know the strategy has become deeply embedded in the business culture. What makes this system work so effectively is that each individual fee seems reasonable in isolation. A 6% hotel tax? That sounds normal. A 2% restaurant tax? Hardly worth noticing. A $30 resort fee? Well, you are getting beach chairs and bottled water, but collectively, these charges transform the economics of a vacation, creating a shadow price structure that few visitors fully comprehend until it's too late. Miami's political leadership has embraced this approach wholeheartedly. As one county commissioner publicly stated, since tourists pay most of the sales taxes, the rates could be ratcheted up to let them carry the burden of financing government. It's taxation without representation in its most modern form, and it's working spectacularly well for Miami's finances. The psychology behind this approach is fascinating. Research shows that consumers respond differently to a $400 hotel room than they do to a $300 room plus fees and taxes. The end cost is identical, but the perception is entirely different. Miami's tourism industry has weaponized this cognitive bias at a massive scale. Consider how this plays out in real time. A family from Chicago compares vacation destinations, seeing Miami hotel rates that appear competitive with other beach cities. They book their trip, blissfully unaware that the true cost will be significantly higher. By the time they discover the reality at checkout, they've already had their vacation experience. They might grumble about the bill, but they've already contributed their share to Miami's economy. The genius of the system is that most visitors don't experience these costs as a unified tax burden. Instead, it's death by 1,000 cuts, a small charge here, a fee there, a surcharge somewhere else. Few tourists ever calculate the total tax and fee burden of their Miami vacation, but if they did, many would be shocked by the percentage. What's even more remarkable is how this system has allowed Miami to develop world-class infrastructure while maintaining relatively low tax rates for residents. The city boasts stunning parks, modern public transit, and beautiful public spaces, all funded largely by visitor dollars. For local politicians, it's the perfect solution: deliver premium services without burdening constituents. But there are cracks appearing in this seemingly perfect system. As more visitors become aware of the hidden costs of Miami vacations, some are looking elsewhere. Canadian tourists, once a mainstay of Florida's winter season, have begun choosing alternative destinations where the advertised price more closely matches the final bill. Tourism industry leaders have started to worry about this trend. At a recent industry conference, one hotel executive warned, "We're approaching a tipping point where the nickel and diming damages our reputation more than it benefits our bottom line." Yet, despite these concerns, the fees continue to rise year after year. The economic incentives are simply too powerful to ignore. For hotels, shifting revenue from room rates to fees means paying less in travel agent commissions and booking site fees. For local governments, tourist taxes provide a political free lunch, revenue without voter backlash. The system perpetuates itself because everyone with decision-making power benefits. So what does this mean for you, the visitor? Understanding Miami's invisible tax system won't necessarily save you money, but it will help you budget more accurately. That advertised hotel rate of $300 per night? Plan for it to be closer to $400 when all is said and done. That restaurant meal? Add at least 20% to the menu prices. The psychology at work is remarkable. Miami has perfected what behavioral economists call drip pricing, advertising a low initial price, then adding mandatory fees later in the transaction. Studies show this approach dramatically increases consumer spending as people mentally commit to the purchase before knowing the true cost. This strategy extends throughout the visitor experience. Even parking has become a revenue machine. Miami Beach parking rates have doubled over the past decade, now reaching $8 per hour in prime locations. For a full day of beach parking, visitors can expect to pay more than $40, a cost that locals with resident permits largely avoid. Some tourism experts have begun to wonder if Miami is approaching a dangerous threshold. There's a concept called killing the golden goose, one industry consultant told me. When the gap between advertised price and actual cost grows too large, consumers feel deceived. That damages the destination's brand equity in ways that are hard to repair. Yet, even with these concerns, there's little evidence that Miami plans to change course. The latest innovation? Some hotels have begun adding service charges of 15 to 20% on everything from pool service to room service, essentially mandatory gratuities that further inflate visitor costs while appearing separate from the core pricing. What's most impressive about Miami's approach is how it's been normalized. Visitors now expect and accept these additional charges as part of the experience. The city has effectively conditioned millions of tourists to budget for one price while paying another, all while maintaining its image as an accessible luxury destination. For Miami residents, this system has created a remarkable quality of life. They enjoy beautiful public spaces, regular cultural events, and clean streets, all funded predominantly by visitor dollars. It's perhaps the most successful example of tax exportation in modern America, shifting the burden from voters to visitors with surgical precision. The next time you visit Miami, take a moment to look beyond the stunning beaches and vibrant nightlife. What you're really experiencing is one of the most sophisticated revenue extraction systems ever designed. A place where paradise comes at a price, even if that price is carefully hidden from view until the final bill arrives. The real brilliance of Miami's approach isn't just collecting these invisible taxes. It's making visitors feel good about paying them. After all, you're not just paying for a hotel room or a meal. You're buying a slice of the Miami lifestyle, however temporary. And who can put a price on that? Well, actually, Miami can, and they have, down to the penny. As our investigation into Miami's invisible tax system shows, paradise comes with fine print, a lot of it. The question for visitors isn't whether they'll pay these hidden costs, it's whether the experience justifies the true price tag. For millions of visitors each year, the answer remains yes, even as the invisible costs continue to climb. Perhaps that's the ultimate testament to Miami's allure. Even when visitors discover how the system works, they keep coming back, willing to pay the premium for their piece of paradise. And as long as they do, Miami's invisible tax machine will continue operating in plain sight, extracting maximum revenue while maintaining the illusion that you're getting exactly what you paid for. If you found this eye-opening, share your own Miami fee stories in the comments. And if you want to know where everyone's really going next to avoid these hidden costs, subscribe. The next story might reveal why some savvy travelers are changing their vacation plans entirely.